Healing comes in many forms, all the colors aligned. You are free as a dove when you choose, a sovereign state of being.
And allow this product to work with the 7 color chakras in our own energy system.
Meditations can trigger DNA wisdom and memories in light, out-creating our limited chemical memories. So sit back, relax, as we take you on a journey of light and color.
Welcome, everyone, to another New Teachings Lionsgate Survival Guide show. And a pigeon just hit the window and knocked itself out. I went and checked it out. It is alive. It's stunned. But even the pigeons are being affected by the Lionsgate. I am joined once again by Maty Waller, Dale the Dictor Tobin, and Laura Lightworker Massey. How you guys doing today?
Hello,
Surviving.
fellow lions. Hello.
Yeah, how is that lion's meow affecting everyone today?
Pretty harsh. I've slept a lot of it.
Intense, but good. A good intense for me.
Yes. With that being said, everybody needs healing during the Lionsgate. Laura, give everyone an update what's going on with our combined combined therapies healing tour.
Yes, because now you might need him more than ever after this Lionsgate. So we're going to be also in Brighton. So we've been to York. We will get to York at some stage. Found a great venue in Brighton. We can give you the floats and the treatment rooms. And we will be there roughly at the moment from the end of September through there for about 10 days. Everybody will get an email out with all the dates and the prices and so on when it's all the packages are fully decided. So that will be hopefully within the next week. And so if you're interested and you want to come on some of our combined therapies, email me, Laura 2feathers with the number 2feathers@gmail.com.
And everybody, if you're interested, you go to, like I said, go to twofeathersmedicine.com and find everything. With that being said, the Lionsgate is affecting the muggles. It is affecting the light workers. It is affecting the dark workers. It's affecting the gray workers. It's affecting everyone and anyone who's ever had any shit that they've avoided. Okay? Last show, I described it as all of your shit will animate and come alive and attack you. An excrement elemental. So just imagine every poop you have ever taken assembling together in a giant monstrosity coming after you in the big world. Okay? Now, many other shows want to describe it as the next doom and gloom, the next demon, the next gothic, the next devil, the next whatsoever. The aliens are going to come down and kill the human race. The lizards are going to eat us, so on and so forth. If it was only that simple. If it was only that simple that the aliens are going to come down and turn us into food. Well, what happens when the aliens' poop gets erected and starts attacking them? Because yes, everyone, even the off-worlders are affected by this Lionsgate. With that said, Dale, Tobin, you've been doing psychic surgery for what, how many years now?
Hit and miss, probably around about 9 years. I was doing Reiki, but I was doing psychic surgery with my many hands, but I didn't fully realize until maybe 7 years ago. So quite a while, yeah.
So over the last 7 Lions Gates of practicing, what have you noticed about the energies of the Lions Gates and how people's energies could come back and attack them? And what you've done to remove some of it?
Yeah, so for me, it feels a time where there's a lot of intense energy, and this intense energy can create chaos. And before like say 4 years ago, my life was quite chaotic. So the Lion Gates for me have always been chaos until the time came where I did enough work within myself. Like this Lion's Gate, for me has been intense, but it's been great. I've not had a Lions. This is probably the best Lions Gate I've had out of all of them. Last year was a hard one for me. It was about me having confidence again. The universe was telling me you need to step up and you need to show your face much more. You need to stop being meek and lack, and all of these different things were coming up for me. And I was like, holy fuck. And I had shows after shows, and I was showing it, and I was like, fuck, I can't avoid this shit. So for me last year, I had to do a lot of work on my lack consciousness. That for me was last year's Lionsgate. So all throughout the years, they've been very intense, and you just see people blowing up left, right, and center, and just allowing the program to fully show themselves because they're not fully aware how to simplify everything. And for me, this Lionsgate, like Andrew has taught, simplifying things makes so much things more easy. And I never listened to what he said until like the last few years, where I made everything simple instead of such a big thing. And like this Lionsgate, I'm like, right, I'm not letting this fucking happen again. So all this shit, what was going on, I simplified it, and it wasn't big anymore. And it was all that process of me learning that the kids have been pretty crazy over the Lionsgate. They've obviously fighting all the time and stuff like that. And you see all this weird chaos happening when you go out in the shop. So for me, this Lionsgate was kind of like an understanding of I just need to keep going with myself. I need to do more of the stuff which I've been showing this Lionsgate. There's a few areas in my life I need to work on. So yeah, for me, this Lionsgate has been great, intense, and it brings up a lot of people's shit. It can allow people to see their own shit, and instead of seeing it as a negative thing that you're scared of, see it as such a beauty of being able to be seeing this. It's giving you a gift, and are you allowed to see that gift, or are you just going to fight it until the next Lionsgate and it's going to come and shit on you again?
Sorry, I was there. Coming until it comes and shit on you again. What have you do to help clients get out of their Lionsgate excrement elemental mess?
I'd say connecting to natural living and connecting to their own faith consciousness again, and allowing themselves to go through real deep healing processes where they're in a relaxed state through the week. They're allowed to let go of the garbage they've picked up in the last few weeks, because a lot of people don't do that. They go through work and they go through all these different things and they don't have any purification process. So with the psychic surgery, it's a matter of me scanning the body. Then I'd give them advice. I'd start helping them, starting making them feel more clarity and so on. So through all the years of psychic surgery doing it, it's just helping people find faith and doing the inner work, doing the hard work, which most people avoid. They're scared shitless of. Like they're all got love and light and they're all doing these incredible things. But when it comes to their own shit, they run away. And in the session, it's how can you tell them about their own shit, but not get them disheartened. You want to give them inspiration. You want to give them confidence. So when the session is finished, they've got a bit of homework to do, and they've got inspiration to see the unlimited point of view again. Because a lot of people come to see me, and at the start of the session, I just see them, they're all closed and they don't really talk. But at the end of the session, there's tears there. There's big releases, somatic releases going on in them, and they're like, holy shit, I can heal. There's something going on here. So it's giving them the torch after the session, saying now it's your responsibility. You have to go forward and continue on with this. You can't rely on a healer, even though the session helps you. You have to make those steps now. And for me, the hours and hours of work I've done, like the lack consciousness stuff, that took me a long, long time to work on that. And I'm talking like hours, until I was blue in the face. Sorry, Andrew.
Let's talk about how that happened. You and I are on a phone call, and you're about to go shopping. Okay, let's show the teaching so other people can possibly get through their lack consciousness, because lack affects a lot of people during Lionsgate. They may not having demons coming at them, their shit may not be raining storms on them, but they're stuck in the dross mode of I have no money, I'll never get out of this, I'm trapped energy.
Yes. So I was at a party and it was a wedding, and there was a lady there who was a millionaire, and she had loads of money, and she came up to me and started having a conversation with me. And as I spoke to her, she looked at me like she didn't give a fuck or what I had to say. She looked at me like I was a piece of shit. And I was there like fully trying to have a conversation, and it triggered me. It triggered my own lack because of what she was saying. I don't know how it triggered it, and I allowed a projection in. Then 2 days later, I'm on the phone to Andrew, and I'm like, something's going on here. I've let something in. He goes, yep, it's your lack consciousness program, and it's something you have to do work on. And he was explaining about it, and I went to Asda, and as I was speaking to Andrew for like an hour in the car, he said, watch your programs when you go into the shop and the supermarket. So I went into the shop and the supermarket, and I saw all my lack programs just come in. I can't afford that. This is too much. Oh, look at the price here. That's a dear one. I'll get the cheaper one. Have I got enough money now? Oh shit, because I bought this, I'm in lack and I don't feel good. It's like when I went to that shop, it took away my consciousness, and I was like, what? Holy fuck, I'm just allowing it to get thrown out here, thrown out there. So that was funny. I was literally pissing myself. Then afterwards, there was some inner work to do, which Andrew explained how to do it, where I had to go back month by month by changing the past in a ceremonial way and start saying I'm not allowing lack as a choice anymore. I'm giving myself the natural dream state. I don't allow lack consciousness in my life. So I had to go back to the beginning of my relationship with Gabrielle when I paid bills and so on, when I had all these lack programs. Shit, I can't afford this. We can't do this. I'm skint now and so on. So I had to go back. It took me ages, and I was blue in the face. I was like, fucking hell, this is so annoying. Like how long this fucker's taken me. And I kept going back and I kept going back. Then all of a sudden I did the last few months, and there's a vision at the end where all my lack selves were in a big circle, and the galactic central sun was just all behind them, and it started illuminating into the parasympathetic. Then my lack program jumped out and went, fuck this, and like jumped out the door and shut the door, and I went, fuck off. It was the most funniest thing I've ever experienced, because it literally ran out of me and jumped and said, fuck this, and shut the door. And I was like, it's done, motherfucker. And even though at times there are still whispers of it, and I'm aware of those whispers, but they don't haunt me in the way they did. And now I do ritual to send prayers forward, so I'm not a lack. And that's, Andrew was explaining to me, that's the next layer of responsibility. Once you've gone there, it's now to focus on the future, about sending those prayers so you're not experiencing lack as much. So that's my lack consciousness story for you all.
And for people that are out there in lack right now, in their Lionsgate, take the essence of Dale's message. Go to the grocery store and watch your programs. And you can beat them. You can buy the diced tomatoes that are 35 cents more than the one next to it. Okay? Challenge yourself by doing little things like that, because just watching the programs teaches you about them. And as long as you're watching the programs and preparing, you'll be able to take decisive action. So Maty or Laura, what do you guys have to add about people who are in lack on this Lionsgate?
It's a good time to switch the energies, isn't it? If you're feeling in lack, do what, as you said, do what Dale did, and go out and trust that you can provide for yourself in the future if you overspend a bit at the moment. Just trust you can make that money.
Here's a hard one. Can you burn a £1 note?
Yeah, I've done it. I've
Well
got a
done,
£5 note and a $1 bill.
£5 note now.
£5 note and a $1 bill. Bit different to it with a bit bigger note though.
Quickly add something. So after I did that, 2 days later, I was on the phone to Laura, and I think Andrew came on at one point, and I bought some glasses, and I thought I lost the glasses, but I didn't. I went, fuck this, I'm not in lack anymore, I'm just going to buy a few more. So I went in and bought, and I ended up with like loads of glasses like stacked up on each other, and it was my way of saying, fuck you.
Yeah.
And what have you just bought yourself, Dale? What have you just bought today for your
bottle?
Yeah, and I bought myself a nice whiskey. So this Belvane 14-year single malt, I'm going away tomorrow. So I'm going to have a few glasses through the holiday of this single malt whiskey. And it was £70. And before, that would scare the shit out of me, and I'd go for the really cheap whiskey. But there was no remote. I'm so happy I bought it. And there's no holding on like it's taken away anything from me. So it is a journey of that. And when the bills come in as well, most people get so fucking triggered when they see bills. I don't get triggered by bills anymore. I just see them as a piece of paper which don't have a hold on me anymore. And it took me a long time to get like that because bills used to trigger the shit out of me. When it used to come through the door, I was like, my LAC programs just used to turn on, and I was stressed and like, oh shit, what's the future going to be like?
And if there's
so
a problem,
I know exactly how it feels for that.
If there's a problem, you feel like, you know, when those bills come in, when you're in that lack, you just feel like it's almost a feeling like somebody's about to kick in the door and take you away, or take everything you have straight away. You know, it's just that absolute dread. I remember just hearing the letterbox going and being like, no, a letter.
Yeah. These programs take all our power, really. And also, if it's worrying about can you afford it in the future, you're not actually living in the now, so you're not in body now, because you've got a part of you out in the future flapping around, oh, how am I going to get this money? Will we have enough money? So it's getting, if you're getting bodied now, are you okay now? That's the most important thing. Get yourself in your body now, not out there in the future worrying about something that hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Trust yourself that you will manage.
Problem, reaction, solution.
So, solution, reaction, problem. The Lion's Gate is now affecting people who are heavily into conspiracy. Now, this show every now and then may touch into some of the conspiracy ideas. And in the beginning, I touched into a lot of them. But again, began explaining what are the ones to be aware of, what are the ones not to be aware of. And unfortunately, so many people have chosen from the second slot the ones that really don't matter, the ones that aren't really real. Did 5G go active and half the world die? No. How many times in the last 8 years or 9 years did you hear that somebody said, as soon as 5G goes, all humans are going to die, your DNA is going to melt, etc., etc.? Did that happen? No.
Laura, what about your stick, your 5G stick? Are you still alive?
Hold on. My 5G dongle.
Here we go. I saw Laura was a bit scared of it at first.
I didn't like it because it had 5G written on it and I wouldn't unwrap it from the box. and now I've managed to actually sleep next to the internet box.
So let's touch on the people who are stuck in conspiracy, and the Lion's Gate is just beating the shit out of them with conspiracy after conspiracy after conspiracy after conspiracy. What can we do to help those people get out of it, to break the vicious cycle?
It's recognizing that really is a fear program deep within, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Fear of what?
Things you can't control.
Not within their control.
Fear of going in your actual self instead of always looking out.
And the thing with the Lion's Gate is it doesn't matter what subject matter we're touching on. The Lion's Gate always shows what needs to be looked at. It's not a curse, it's a blessing. And it's, you know, so if things like conspiracy are coming up or lack consciousness, then it's clear. And if that's what's your issue on the Lion's Gate, then that's what you need to look at. And just take that as a deep message as to what really needs to be looked at in your hologram and in your personal life.
So let's say we've got a person that's deep into the Save the Children one, because that's been reanimated by the movie that's out now.
That's harsh energy.
I've seen that conspiracy version. I mean, I'm not saying it's not real. I'm saying the conspiracy world around it has become so toxic that it's full of demonic energies waiting to fear on anyone that wants to put a toe in that water. Okay? Before it was Save the Children, it was the lizards are coming to get you. And before the lizards, it was the Men in Black. And before that, it was something else. Okay? What can you do to help a person get out of the Save the Children conspiracy mess?
I would say that what you look at looks back at you. And that's why I don't even like looking at some of these sites or these things. And just know that if that's what you're looking at all the time, then that is the frequency that you're bringing into yourself. That's the frequency you're going to have in you all the time, 24 hours a day, because it's a harsh frequency. And if you don't have any processes in which you use to clear your own energy, any meditative processes, any actual self-mastery processes that you use to balance and clear yourself, then it's just going to be in your frequency the whole time. So just realize that you are being predated on. You're not empowered.
Get out
in nature. Take what Maty has said, and Dale, expand it even deeper of what you look at looks back at you, and how it affects your world.
And that great saying you said, Andrew, is that how's that working out for you? If you're in that, truly ask you that question, how is it working out for you? And write down how happy you really are, what it does for you, what it gives back to you. Does it make you money? Does it give you abundance? Because it won't at all. And it's about being responsible and understanding that. I went down that rabbit hole at one point in time. I didn't stay in it for long, but it was really dense and it lowered my frequency. Because there's always another story within another story to try and sell you onto the next tip, like sucking on the tit type thing. Yeah.
There's a difference, isn't there, between educating yourself and actually getting totally entangled and hauled into to everything that's out there, so that it takes over your actual existence and becomes your life, and you're viewing your life through those lenses, which is not a healthy way to live.
Yeah. So, Maty, we have a special question from the chat room. Should there be more trained exorcists in the world? Yes.
From working on the Peter Mathmat Lucia, like yes.
Oh
Yes.
my goodness gracious me!
Yes,
Yeah,
there should be.
We can't really say too much, but let's just say that and even those of us that are good at these kind of things and have done them, often there can still be real challenging experiences. So absolutely,
It's
surprising what's lurking in humans.
It's a certain breed of people that can handle it, James. James Goodser asked that question. A certain breed. And trust me, you don't know you can do it until you're in the moment.
Yeah.
Until you're in the moment. Okay?
And it's pure, you're just acting in that now. You're just literally second to second to second.
Exactly, second to second. Okay?
And that all comes down to responsibility. Like if you're doing that shit, you have to look after yourself and check yourself. Make sure you've not got no back doors open. So if you're dealing with that being can work with you because you're so fucking traumatized as well. So do it, but make sure you're responsible within doing it and do the inner work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's another question from Sam F in the chat. Not everyone realizes that apathy is not the opposite of empathy. It's another choice which takes us away from empathy. I've had this lesson with my family and recently. Absolute truth to those words.
Wonderful.
Pick those words apart, everyone. Apathy is not the opposite of empathy. Apathy is another choice. And when we choose apathy over and over and over again, an example when dealing with the Save the Children, what ends up happening? That apathy becomes the doorway in for the negative energies because you're doing nothing about it internally.
We have a few recovering empaths here, don't we, Laura? I was a recovering empath at one point.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
Okay. With this show is being about the tips, tricks, and techniques for dealing with the Lionsgate. Let's deal with people's families now. Families are absolutely affected. If you're in the spiritual world and your family is somewhat adjacent to your beliefs or not, their world is affected by your unseen world, and their unseen world is affected by yours. What can you do to separate your family's negative interaction with the Lionsgate with yourself? Laura, what tips do you have for them in separating energy?
Don't engage in any of the negative sort of conversations or anything that's going to draw you in or get you absolutely entangled. You've got to stand sovereign and free from that energy. Take yourself out into nature. I don't know that you're actually going to be able to do much to help them. It's a case of, as ever, is making sure that you're okay, that you stay sacred neutral, that you don't get drawn in, and do things that actually give you fun and joy. They are going to have to go through their own processes, and doing too much to try and help them is only going to be treading on their journey. So this has come up. These are things that have either come up for them to learn, or things that, as Andrew said, are just happening because the unseen world is also affected by the Lionsgate energies. So as always, the thing is doing our own inner work, keeping ourselves balanced so that we're not being one of those people who are creating these sort of unsteady energies for people around us.
Yeah. Use your wisdom, and don't, use your spirituality, use the mastery, use the things that you've learned, but don't relay that to them directly. Translate it into muggledom, translate it into their language. You can still navigate and use your spirituality without pushing it down people's throat or displaying it, because it's just going to trigger the shit out of people.
So, sorry, I got something's caught in my eye. So, Dale, you have 6 children, 5 that are living with you. How are your children this year affected by the Lionsgate?
I'd say there's always a bit more chaos, as in fights start to happen a bit more easier between them all. And there's a bit more drama, and like Heath, who is autistic, my son, has been having a bit more of a hard time in the last, say, week or so by having meltdowns and so on. So yeah, I have seen it with the children, just a bit more drama and a bit more things unfolding in that way. But the essence of, for me, is always relaying love. And even though I have to be the father and have to have words with them and be serious at times, always remembering that love is important to show them. So when the seriousness happens, you have to then combine and be responsible to level that with love. So I've seen, chaos, Andrews, at times here. But it's not been like overwhelming chaos, but there has been chaos and a few more meltdowns with Heath.
What about in other families you've noticed?
I'd say families like breaking up, splitting up, partners splitting up, clients who don't like the partners anymore, them finding out about each other, that one of them likes and one of them doesn't. For me, it's seeing such a big blow up within relationships, sexual relationships as well. People are so within their programs, they forgot how to have sexual intimacy together and sensual experience, which is very important. So within a couple, their programs stop them from having that touch again, actually looking at each other, touching each other, caressing each other. So the Lionsgate does that for a lot of people. And if you're listening now and having that issue, it's about having that time where you're dead focused on love, you're dead focused on caressing each other, sensual touch and so on. That shit's important. You've got to invest time in that. And just see all your weird programs come up for you when you do it. And I do it with Gabrielle. I'm like, how can I open myself up to give her true love without strings on them, or have that sexual experience without any attachment or perversion? It's just a sensual, loving feeling. And I see all my little programs come up of my dad and how he was towards my mum. So it's about being aware of that. And if you're having those issues, speak to your wife or speak to your husband and say, we're needing some sensual love time once a week where we're both together or alone. We can give each other a massage, and it potentially could lead to sex. So I'm seeing it a lot through clients that it's just chaos with people in relationships. Not all of them, a lot of them.
Okay. So now let's talk about the tricks the Lionsgate likes to play on us. Over the years of me doing shows and preparing people from the variety of Lionsgates, the worst, I will say last year was definitely competes for the worst, but it's probably 2014 was the worst Lionsgate in my personal history. I ended up having to deal with a tremendous amount of things that were not my shit, but they were other people's shit, entangling with shit I had already cleared, forcing me to clear something again that I had done numerous times, only discover I had left a tiny minuscule in which it could attached onto. So I did not turn over every stone, even though I thought I did in my own egoic essence. And as I began to clear it out, it was a tremendous clearing for me. It was a tremendous change in the nature of the business for me. But on that clearing, I had good sailing. I had powerful energies. And it reminded me, no matter how strong you are, if you leave one little minuscule, other people's shit will attach to that minuscule and blow up during this time. Okay, so what little minuscules have we all left out there for something to attach to? Okay, for me, it happened to be around trusting people, putting trust into a person. And then suddenly that person wasn't trustful anymore. And everything blew up. And I ended up having to work my ass off for 3 solid months to fix their mistakes. Imagine that. 3 solid months of 6 days a week to fix other people's mistakes. Well, that was my lesson. Never let that shit happen again. Okay? Laura, what examples do you have for people?
So my little piece I left out there was control, and that actually you were able to help me with when we were away with the guys on the coach tour. But there was still a little piece of it left, this Lionsgate, and what it did was it inflated a situation that didn't need inflating, because I still had that element of I need to be able to control what someone else is doing, let's say. So that again is treading on their journey. And I didn't realise that. I thought, out of the goodness of my heart, I went into light worker mode. I'm trying to help them feel better or whatever it was. And I realised afterwards, doing the inner work, looking at it, and this has just happened, this is in the last couple of days, so this was my Lionsgate energy, that came up, and I afterwards I recognised it, and I created a situation, uncomfortable situation in a relationship that didn't need to be created. But actually, of course, being Lionsgate, it did need to be created so that I could see how much at times I put my control onto others, and that really was a big lesson for me.
And that's beautiful, sister, just you saying that and being honest about it. And we all have our issues, everyone here on this panel, we all have our work to do, and that's the best thing about this journey is judgment. And for me, this Lionsgate is I've learned a lot about judgment and how negative judgment can be. And when people judge the shit out of you, it's just like it creates this karmic soup, and we all have to be responsible and honest. And when I started being responsible and honest about who I was when I was an addict and so on, it was the best growth for me, because I was fully truth about who I was. And you saying that, Laura, Maty, and Andrew, it's beautiful to see we're honest and open about ourselves. Like knowing Andrew, Laura, and Maty, they're incredible people. I've spent time with them. They're wonderful people who take care of you, who don't judge you. They're always there for you. So yeah, really inspiring, Laura, that.
Thank you, Dale. Well, one thing I've noticed, this is only recently really with Lionsgate, because Andrew talking about the various Lionsgates over the years. When I was more in light worker mode, I thought it was about increasing ceremony, upping the daily practice. Of course, that's relevant. Spiritual hygiene is particularly important at this time. But I didn't realise at that time that it was about doing the inner work. It was really about the self-mastery, the self-empowerment program, the self-empowerment, about staying sacred neutral. I thought it was more about, let's just go out and do ceremony, forgetting about the rest of the work. So the last couple of Lionsgates have had some more hard-hitting stuff that I haven't recognised. Another one of those is like the spiritual stick that has been up my backside for quite a while, and that is related to the control that I was trying to flex on others, and doing the inner work on that. And this is before the Lionsgate, so I'm really glad that I tackled that a while ago, because the Lionsgate just showed me that little nugget that was left. Whereas I think it would have been a whole lot worse if I hadn't done a lot of the journaling and a lot of the inner work and tracing where these things come from. Why are they new? Why is that need for control? And why is that need for the serious stick up my backside? And taking it right back to, well, I know that when I first discovered spirituality, I was very earnest about it, and I wanted to be taken seriously, and people weren't hearing me, and that's where that came from. But that took probably quite a few weeks of work, intensive work, to actually get back and understand why I'm like that. And then the control one, another one, I'm still working on that now. And as Maty said, I think earlier, everything in the end is a blessing. from the Lionsgate, but it doesn't feel like it at the time. But it will show you. It will show you what you need to focus on.
So, Laura, I have one of these things to point out to you that is a reoccurring theme that you have avoided and avoided. See that big spot of light on your head that goes right into your eyes every time you try to talk? This has been ongoing for almost a year now. This comes up on the Lionsgate. That's why I call her light worker, because every time we talk to her, there's a big beam of light right on her head.
It's deliberate, isn't it, Laura?
Exactly.
I want to prove, how light workery I am.
So every show you guys see when that light's up there, that she's avoiding that one. All right, Laura, that was really, really great. So now let's talk about a little bit more about Muggle World. How are the white picket fenced people affected by these Lions Gates? They're not spiritual. They don't give a rat's ass about anything but their own little world. So how are Muggles affected?
You can hear them saying now, can anything else possibly go wrong? They're going to have other little things, or I guess some big things happening in their lives, but they won't know why that is.
And I feel there'll be frustration. There'll be a lot of frustration about where they are and what they're doing, and with the white picket fence. And in the background, is this really life? Is this really great? There might be some frustration there, I definitely feel.
Or a drunk driver takes down the white picket fence.
Yes. And the dog comes and shits all over it.
It comes and shits all over it. Kids get arrested for DUIs. Neighbors play the music too loud. Goes on and on and on and on and on. So, Maty, as an observer of the Muggle world, what can you tell us about the Muggles who deal with more of the seedier side of life, that have to deal with the darker side of Muggle world? And how does the Lion Gate affect them?
Gosh, that's quite a hard question for me to answer, actually.
It's been such a long time since you've been a Muggle.
It has, and I don't really know many. As I'm looking around the world, well, yeah, family and stuff, but I don't really see a lot of people. But as I've been going around, the world seems to be normal. But I did notice over the last couple of days a lot more hostility in general, just in people's faces, in their demeanors, in their general interactions. Just in the short periods of time that I have been out and about in busy places, I've been through London, I've been a few places in the last few days. There just seems to be a general hostility and frustration to the whole energy, like a pressure cooker.
But isn't London always angry?
Yes, but it was more so. It was lots of people just blatantly standing in your way as if you're not even there and just looking straight through you. People just in themselves very, very deeply and harshly. And I dare to say I probably was as well.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question, Andrew?
No.
That's what this is about.
So, because I'm not watching the news, and Maty and Laura might be able to answer this as well. So, when you're talking about the Muggle world, let's talk about the media and what's going on with what they're trying to show us at the moment within the news and so on. What is going on? Because I'm not really up to date with it.
Well, I'm an American telling you from the American Muggle perspective. Ukraine. Don't worry about politics. Biden didn't sell out. We're going to arrest Trump and do stuff, even though Biden did worse. A complete breakdown of the narrative.
So
and many Muggles are turning to Muggle alternatives. Okay? They're learning to alternative Muggle news. So on top of Ukraine, UFOs disappear. Balloon disappear. UFO disappear. So it's a schizophrenic dialogue they're trying to present right now. Because they can't sell anybody on Ukraine anymore, that they totally fucked it up with such horrible output, such horrible messaging, just like they did with the Koof, because I don't want to get the channel banned here. they're having to reevaluate the actual influence that they have over people now. The whole LGBTQ IA plus completely backfired on them.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, I would have had no problem with any of those movements if they didn't tell me how to think.
Yeah.
They
Or
didn't
shout their message.
tell me I'm a racist for having a different point of view.
Yeah.
Okay? They fucked that one in the dog too. Hard. Yeah? All they had to do was be inclusive, like you're knowing the nature of what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I give everybody equal time, but when somebody tells me my time is not equal to theirs, do you take that superiority shit and shove it up your ass?
Yeah. All the way.
Do you think as the Lionsgate energies go on, the more will be revealed from behind that closed curtain of media?
Well, I think that there are people that are holding the button on the delete, holding over the delete button so stories don't go viral. And do those people have an immunity to the Lionsgate? For the most part, they do. Shit does make it through, though. They can't see everything. Okay? But there's enough hands over delete buttons to stop it from going viral. And as long as they can stop a story from going viral, they still rule the narrative.
How do they get an immunity from it? It affects everybody.
Because they're not operating in Muggle world and not operating in Lightworker world. They're operating in secret world.
Okay.
They don't operate under the rule of law. Law has no authority over them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the deep state and all those other conspiracy words that we're not going to over-mention here. The ones that force the nations to follow the petrodollar, or the ones that are constantly blackmailing the congressmen and senators of the entire world to do it their way or they die. Okay? So more when it comes to the narrative, I've talked till I was blue in the face about the narrative. Yeah. The narrative is absolutely schizophrenic right now. And people are beginning to realize it. But like I said, as long as they have control over the delete button for things going viral, they still control the narrative. So what does that leave us sovereign individuals moving on capacity to do? You just create in the moment what you need to create. As long as you're creating what you're creating and you're in your little happy space, the world will go, okay, they're in the happy space. Okay? It's when you're in the happy space and fighting them, that's when they target you with counter Muggle stuff, making sure your neighbor plays your music too long, your internet doesn't work, whatever they can do to battle in the rule of attrition. Okay, they activate all the other conspiracy worlds to start affecting you and subtly pasting and activating things around your reality for you to be, empathically programmed that the negativity is coming.
Yeah, so it doesn't mean being inactive, it means being active on the right things.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, their way is the only way. That's the way. If you want to pay attention to a teacher, anybody that's out there that says their way is the only way, well, might not be the only way in an infinite world of infinite possibilities. Oh, and then we're loaded up full of solar storms too.
Yeah, that was a good point. As soon as I saw that, I forgot about that. Yeah, a soup.
Barbecue.
Yeah.
Tsunami.
A barbecue of them. What do solar storms do to Muggles? They wake them up to the harshness of what's going on around them, and they delve deeper into Muggle land, and then they get pulled out by the next one, and it's like parachuting in reverse.
And what do Lionsgate energies do for Earth, for the planet? How's she reacting?
Oh, Lightworker question.
I knew you were going to answer it.
Actually, I was thinking, well, I have to.
I won't answer that.
Now.
I want you to answer. Tap into Mother Earth, and what does she tell you?
Well, we've got the Maui fires. We've got flooding in various places of the world, or we've got maybe a wetter summer in the UK than we've experienced for a while. So we've got the movement of the earth waters, the cleansing, the fires. So she is doing what she needs to do, isn't she, for her part of the evolution?
She's just fine.
She's just
Yeah, she's doing what she
that's a
needs
t-shirt.
to do.
Another t-shirt there.
She's just fine. She's having her
Yeah.
tea time before she gets ready to go out at night.
Yeah.
And she's going to go dancing at some of her galactic rave clubs.
She's always dancing. That's what I see when I see her. She's always
And she's
dancing.
always dancing.
Yeah.
And inviting everyone to come out on the dance floor with her.
Mhm.
And she looks good for her age.
She does.
She's definitely a cougar.
Hmm.
Okay? So we're at a point where we've talked about the muggles, we've talked about the tools, tips, and techniques, some of the things you can do. And now let's talk about ceremony. We talk about ceremony on this show all the time. Why is ceremony important during these harsher times?
Because it grounds you to
Yeah.
the natural earth energies.
And
It gives you a compass in times of confusion.
look at you go.
It's a way to burn dense energy. It's a way to work your way through dense energies, to let go of any dense energies you're holding on to and allow space for anything that's coming in. Otherwise, you're just going to layer and layer and layer and layer. You know, some of my Lionsgate ceremonies have been very transformative in the prayer that I've given, and you know, my evolutionary step. Others of them seem different. So some of them are just dealing with very dense, deep energies, and sometimes my prayers don't reflect what actually happens in the Lion's Gate, but nonetheless, I can feel the removal of the energy. What needs to go will go.
And it's
Dale?
your unseen support. It's your ancestral and unseen support as well, as you're working through
Yeah.
getting rid of, stuff you don't want and stuff that's come up for you. It's what you normally do, but doing it during Lionsgate is going to help you.
And ceremony gives you that natural life force frequency where you're with the earth, you're with the ancestors, you're with the sacred fire, and you're able to really disentangle from the system, from the drama, from the crap, and actually create a space where you're able to heal. You have the infinite fire in front of you, you're able to talk to it, you're able to allow yourself to let down, basically, let down the past. And for me, fire ceremony, the next days after, I feel so inspired. So it continues on into the next week. So the next few days, that fire ceremony will still be with me in the future. And all I'll have to do is think about it, and I'll get that fire ceremonial frequency again. Yeah.
Now, because in this show, we want to empower each and every person, we have to talk about the unempowering things that are out there. Clearly, the global narrative is a disempowering, unempowering process. Money, financing is an unempowering process. But spirituality can also be an unempowering process. You're taking power away from one side of your belief, and you're amplifying the belief of another side. When we begin to depower negative belief systems, we use inner work to do that. We use affirmations to work on the positive work to get that teeter-totter of energy to the other side. There also comes a point in advancing one's spirit, we learn the many techniques of being unempowered. And right now, there are a lot of people feeling unempowered now. And let's just shoot out a bunch of different ways you can be unempowered right now. Things that people can work on in their basic ability to do just the most basic self-help stuff.
Well, apathy is a big one.
Yep.
And procrastination.
Laziness,
tiredness, anger.
Paranoia.
Frustration.
basic addiction to television.
Yeah.
Okay. Music always playing, meaning you're avoiding something. Melancholy moods. All those are unempowering. And when you have a whole soup of them in front of you, You can only take them on one at a time. So let's talk about basic weekly depression, not overall depression. You're depressed because last week was shitty. Laura, what tools, tips, and techniques do you have for a person to break depression?
Oh, the first
Just the very beginning of the line, nothing advanced.
No, the first go-to is always prayer. For me, the first go-to is establish your unseen connection so that you can talk and be heard and find the joy of prayer. Find the trying from the depression to find some sort of joy in the prayer process.
So prayer can be very hard for a lot of people at the beginning. What can they do to substitute prayer that isn't as hard? Because it's much more of a belief challenge for them.
Establishing just some sort of connection to your ancestors and just talking to them, talking to their friends in the unseen world.
Being heard. Yeah. Being heard. Voicing yourself to be heard. That's the beginning of unempowering the unempowered process. Dale, what do you have for the same situation? But let's say the person is dealing with a breakup.
So for me, I see depression as darkness within the self and shadow. So the way I look at depression is how can you elevate light within your own self? Sun gazing is one of those great things, how to raise your frequency and start bringing in light through the prayer process. That does work. With breakups itself, it's about purifying yourself a lot, disentangling from them, doing rituals and ceremonies if you need to disconnect to them, letting them go in a way.
That's all hard stuff.
Okay, sorry. Right.
For the new person that doesn't realize what inner work is, how can we help them see the beginning of what inner work is versus faking it?
By just making a simple choice in a day to allow yourself to let go of stress or let go of sadness. Just a really simple step, maybe 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, by saying, right, I'm now going to learn prayer to get me out of this shit. I'm going to learn prayer to allow me to disconnect from the person who become a narcissist and so on. Then you can go see someone who does body work, just simple things where someone can help you and you can help yourself. And there's so many different things out there, massage, floats, therapy. There's so many different things you can experience. Just do it bit at a time, simplify it. Don't be overwhelmed with it. That would be my advice for it.
So, Maty, next question to you. Except for breakups, somebody that's lost a family member, a death in the family, and it's a background thing they can't get rid of. And what kind of examples can you help them to learn the very basic beginnings of what an inner work is when dealing with the loss of a family member?
Gosh, well, with any form of depression, I think the important thing is to remove yourself from the environment of the depression. And that can be anything. So, even with a breakup or something like that, then it's just whatever, when you're around the same places, the same people, when you're doing the same things, and this energy will just be with you in your repetitive thought process because you're just stagnant within your energies. So in much the same way, just remove yourself from, as much as possible, from the environments where you're over familiar with. Where with regards to the death of a loved one, I think that comes to introspection and retrospection. I think it comes to a point of realizing that pain isn't permanent, and that a death process doesn't always have to be a completely fully painful process. It will be a painful process for the rest of your life. There will be pain there, but there are other parts to it. So just using the process of hindsight to look back and to see the things that you can learn from that person's life, the good times that you had, the stuff that you will want people to remember when you pass. That's the most basic, the ability to reflect and to turn that frown upside down and just to have some maybe tearful moments, but there will be happy tears and transmute that energy of sadness.
And when the time comes, learning to love again, making that simple step.
I think also with depression, there's a great deal to be said for getting out. Like Maty said about getting away from those energies, but a sort of a cleansing, like walking on the beach and get the wind through you and get the sun on your face and reconnect with nature. There's so much beauty in nature and so much joy to be felt out there, that I think that is a really, it's a fairly simple thing. Even if you've only got a park nearby, just go and get some of the energies of the trees, some of the natural elements around there will support you.
But know that if you're the hermit type and that's your depression, then it's other people that will give you the energies that you need. Taking that leap of faith to trust in people and to allow other people to come in and help you.
So
Very
we've got
difficult for a lot of us.
we've got a great statement question from the chat room. Scorpio Silver. I've been feeling so much overwhelming frustration over the smallest of stuff, and profound anger is coming up. Don't know how to stop it when I have this emotion. It absolutely controls me when it happens. What can we do to help Scorpio Silver?
Okay, so one of the tips that I do, and this is just a part of it. I know Dale and Laura will have their own ways, but something that I find useful is to remove any charge, and doing that through the prayer process again, as these guys say. There are other ways to do it, but it's the most powerful. If you take the basics of the contract revocations and open a spiritual court of equity, you can remove all of that charge and polarity that you've projected out or that's projecting back to you. Just go for a process of understanding that what you've just experienced and what you've just been through, you can remove and revoke. You do have that power.
So, for the new persons, the lay person, the new people that are around us, try to explain what the spiritual court of equity does within that prayer process. What's the mechanics of how it works?
It establishes a much like a sacred space. So much like opening ceremony or something like that, it calls in all of these spirits, Earth Mother herself, the directions, the ancestor beings, the guides, the guardians. They all come into this sacred space, this spiritual court that is a real court that exists, obviously, in spirit. And it just means that you don't have to do this all on your own. But not only that, there's a depth to it. It means that what you're doing is empowered and it's being observed by all of these beings as an act of free will. And it's much more powerful than just you doing it alone. You're bringing in the entirety of this earthly experience on all realms into this moment to really empower what you're doing, but to make it sacred and to make a statement of peace.
It can also help expose those that are persecuting you in the negative format.
Oh, yeah.
And expose them to all the ancestors so everyone knows this is my persecutor. And it can help shrink their energy in your real-time field when you feel their exposure to the ancestors of them persecuting me. Dale, what do you have to add to that spiritual court of equity and that exposure of the negativity?
Well, I've had first-hand experiences where my grandmothers have asked me to do it and start opening it up. So the person violating the client has been seen on all layers, in all space, times, and dimensions. They've been seen by the ancestors, and that's what it means for me. I love it. It feels like the grandmothers and grandfathers come forward. The ancestors are there listening to you, and it's like you're stating a statement out to the universe, and people are actually listening to what you're saying. There's someone there validating it. So for me, I've done it firsthand where I've had to go and open a spiritual court of equity, start bringing this fucker who's really negatively fucking this person up and bringing them to this court, show them what they've been seeing, show myself in like 1,000 faces staring at them and the ancestors looking at them. So for me, I've worked with that in the psychic surgery lots of times.
Laura, what do you have for that?
Yeah, I too work with a spiritual court of equity, which is made up of my ancestors. And the overriding feeling from them is one of equity and also one of love. And it's also a place where you can achieve that zero karmic balance. So you're looking with that spiritual court of equity to bring the exchanges to that zero point of view. For me, that's I use them in ceremonies when I have issues with people, but it for me it is diffusing the karma. It's not about judgment, it's fusing of that karma.
All right, great question from the big picture. What if you don't have psychic awareness to hold a proper spiritual cord of equity? For most people, it's just words without belief in it.
Well, that's where you've got
What
to
does
do
the
the daily
panel have to say to
practice.
that one?
That's where you've got to do the daily practice to build up that belief, to build up that connection with your ancestors, with the unseen. That's what builds up your belief. And when you start letting some mystical experiences, things that you find affect your life, and then you start putting more trust into your own processes, and that's when things like you're deepening belief, you're deepening the depth of everything that you do. On layer of alchemy through every practice, every shamanic practice that you do, every self-empowerment piece of work that you do, every piece of inner work that you do, you're building up your trust in your process, and that is reflected in your relationship with the unseen world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Scorpio Silver has another statement in there saying, so I've always been feeling I'm being attacked by negative entities. So I'm going to give you a little technique here. This is for everybody out there. This is where I say, I now summon a spiritual cord of equity to deal with all those who are persecuting me. And in this journey, you're going to populate this court with all your ancestors, ascendants, and descendants, past, present, and future. All the versions of you who are going to be dealing with these same idiot people who are going to be doing the projection. And you're going to start the perp walk. Those that have perpetrated persecution against you, you are bringing their light body to this court, and their residual image is exposed to all your ancestors, ascendants, and descendants. They are exposed. One by one by one. All those that are persecuting you are being exposed to all of your ancestors, ascendants, and descendants. And a lot of people are going, was there a judge to this court? Yes, there is. Spirit itself. The spirit that works through us each and every day, that's trying to achieve equity. And its purpose is to bring balance to that persecution, and not to counter persecute the person who's been persecuting, but to bring them into an understanding that their persecution is causing a harmful negative frequencies to others, and it must stop. If it does not stop, the next level of spiritual cord of equity happens. So Maty, Dale, Laura, what happens when we have to elevate our spiritual cord of equity because a being won't stop projecting on us?
You want to cover that, Dale?
Yeah, so for me, when that does happen, it's all about, and this is more of the advanced talk, what we're talking about now. It's more about what's needed in the moment, and there's many different things I can do in that way. If this being still is violating, like we have those funny things of shitting on them or putting them outside of time, moving them. What I like to do is I put them in a box, and I put like loads of versions around this box of myself, and I make them really small. And if it obviously, then I can put it into a void space, or I can put it into the galactic central sun. There's many different things I do, but it's more of a reading for me. I get told through my reading energy what to do with it. If it's an ancestral entity, sometimes it's an ancestral entity what you're not meant to get rid of. They're contracted to get rid of it themselves. So there's many different areas that I do. It's what's needed in the moment. And like Maty does all the time and has taught me loads of different things about prepping yourself with weapons and stuff. There's all sorts you can do, and you've got an infinite amount of space to do it. And just know that never have fear. Like that fear is only going to bring you down, and to be confident as you do it, and that full flow of spirit with you as you're doing it. The grandmothers, the ancestors with you doing it. You've got a team behind you. Give them a wedgie. And there might be a back and forth. Sometimes there is, but that's just what's needed in the moment of being a psychic and a psychic surgeon.
And yeah, and there are other layers there as well. You can expand your spiritual court of equity. You can bring in higher energies, more and more to observation. You can get the eye of God itself to look directly at the beings that are, inflicting you, and just empower yourself with that process. Another one, if things are just sticking, is alchemy. Once again, alchemy, things like brewing alcohol, that kind of process, where obviously it's a longer term issue that you're dealing with, and it requires that manifestation process.
And also go much deeper into your ceremony space, your ceremonial space, and your sacred practices, and like Maty said, the alchemy. And it's basic, but you can use the sage as well. You can use all the things that you've learnt, call them forth, and go really deep into ceremony and call in the ancestors. Don't shrink from this. Look up the revocations that are relevant and speak, really from the depth of your being. Show your potency, and not a power to destruct unless it's really necessary, but a power to stand your ground, because that's what you're doing. When you're learning to be a peacemaker and a peacekeeper and a celestial medium of peace, you can't shrink away from these things. You have to stand up as a sovereign being in the seen and the unseen world and do the work that you know how to do. And you do it always from your heart space too. But it's very important that you actually do stand your ground.
Yeah, you can throw everything you have at something sometimes until you feel it move away.
So we've got another statement from the big picture. I've been doing the healing work for a while now, and it seems like all the things that used to work no longer work, which is why I was asking. I also have an entity problem. And then he further us up, I've also done the alcohol brewing, and it has not yet worked for me. What's wrong with this person from those statements right there, guys? What can we help with?
You're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. Quite plain and simply, you're not doing it right. And that's not a judgment. That is a motivation for you to go deeper, to look at what you're doing. And if, are you really just farting in the wind? Because I bet you are. And you believe that it's magic. You have to let those words percolate. Yeah, you have to let those words percolate.
Okay. And to add to those fart magic words, where's your faith? Clearly your faith isn't behind it, or you'd have found results. Yeah. Dale, what do you have to add to that statement?
I'd say, because I've dealt with this with various clients, exactly the same issue going on. It would be to have an inner work journey where you're enjoying it. There's different things, because you're probably meditating loads or doing the same shit over and over again. Is how can you have an elevated practice where you're doing many different things at once, always mixing up and having fun with the journey? Like Andrew says, if you've got broken faith, you're going to have to be responsible and go back and fix that broken faith until it comes where all of the work you're doing is with faith, and there's not lack of faith within you at all. And it'll make your work tenfold stronger, and you'll be able to deal with that entity yourself. All about faith for me. It's returning to that faith source self and knowing that you're an infinite being, connected to the great spirit, the great mystery, and having that frequency within you as you're doing that work, and knowing that you can call to the grandmothers and grandfathers for help. You can speak to them. So for me, faith would be, for you personally, my recommendation: fix a broken faith.
Yeah, Laura? You could clear that entity.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Laura.
Sorry. There seems to be a lack of belief in what you're actually doing, a lack of trust in your own processes. So it's going back, as the other guys were saying, going back and redeveloping, re-looking at your practices, getting them so that you've got your heart mind in them, you've got a degree of potency in them, or your potency in them, but really it's that belief behind them. And also, if you do need help with this, I mean, you say you have an entity. If you're doing the work right and you're sovereign, you wouldn't have an entity. So maybe you need some help from somewhere, and so many people are not prepared to spend on themselves, are not prepared to go out and to actually help them get back on track. And there's nothing wrong with doing this. There's people like us who teach self-empowerment. So speak to these people, get their wisdom, get their advice, get some inner healing. But you can do it yourself. People like us will teach you the self-empowerment so that you can go back and do this yourself. So you're not always reliant on an external source to sort you out. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying get somebody who teaches you proper self-empowerment so you can handle these things yourself.
Yep.
So he had a couple follow-ups. The primary issue I have is that after I had a lot of success with healing, it's like my ego involved to prevent me from healing because I was actually really good at healing. Exactly. And as soon as your ego got involved, it muddled everything down and defeated your successes. And then you have, now I experience massive resistance when trying to heal and just give up. As long as you're giving up, it's already won. Your faith is not healed if you're giving up.
Andrew always says courage, commitment, discipline.
Yep.
None of them are mystical. They're all choices.
Yep. You can do it, man. Honestly, you've got to understand that something like an entity can be removed in seconds with a practitioner who has the skills and the faith behind them to do so. Seconds, absolute seconds. And then it takes 10 minutes a day for you to develop a meditative process where you keep that environment clean. And I mean that it's that easy. It's just that faith process and always evolving in your practice. Never just stay.
You'd be perfect for our combined therapies. Because they override the parasympathetic, all that ego stuff that's trying to stop you from healing. That's what we do in the combined therapies. But as Maty said, it's always about your own cards, because we can do, and when you go away, you have to maintain that practice and understanding what that practice means to a developing soul, to yourself, to an evolving soul.
That is absolutely vital.
So we have another question. Can you put parents in the perp walk if you're calling in your ancestors? Yes. Oftentimes, parents are the perpetrators of many traumas into us. Whether it's they were angry growing up, all sorts of traumatic experiences that parents can knowingly and unknowingly put in you. And there are times you must expose the parents for the actions that they did, but you got to understand that the next part of the journey is forgiveness to them. Don't hold vengeance. For as long as you're holding on energy for arguing and vengefulness later, you aren't doing the techniques right. The whole point of exposing them is getting their energies to stop persecuting you with the energy over and over again. It's to put a break and an end to the actual continuous projections.
Which is the beauty of the spiritual core of equity, because these beings in the spiritual core of equity have the responsibility to bring resolution. They know what they're doing. And, you know, us as humans, we can get things wrong. And this is the beauty of the spiritual core of equity.
Yeah.
Because it is still unconditional love.
And it allows for
forgiveness.
It allows for forgiveness to be a final solution to an unsolvable issue. Okay?
Absolutely.
Even if you were violated in the worst ways by a parent, the spiritual core of equity and the perp walk and the energies that come from it that give you forgiveness at the end, so you're no longer forever traumatized. You can forgive, but not forget. And that's part of the learning of some of those harsher traumas that are out there.
And that's where the unlimited point of view and the sacred neutral point of view come to play as well. And taking that eagle-eye view, there's always bigger circumstances seen and unseen that are affecting them and you.
You can be as spiritual as you want, as powerful as you want, have as many unseen skills as you want, but it always comes down to you, your traumas, and how you can heal them.
And will you heal them?
And will you heal them? So now that we've talked about people's programs, spiritual courts of equity, ceremonies, let's get back to this Lion's Gate. Last year it stayed open all the way till November. Yeah? I am forecasting, like a weatherman who's wrong and right all the time, that it will probably last well into late October, if not early November. But this time is very different than last year. We have way more solar flares going on than we did last year at this time. So let's talk about what solar flares do during these times of change. Cricket?
I like your perspective on this better than my own. So I was waiting.
I know what mine is.
So much more
I'll be
light
like,
is hitting the planet, isn't it? So
yeah.
it's forcing everything out into the open, which, if you align that with Lionsgate, is like a double whammy, isn't it?
And your dream world is going to be insane.
Yeah.
Your dream world's going to be insane.
So you've got to think of it as constant energy coming out and back to the sun with the Lionsgate going on constantly. That on top with that, it's gonna cause a lot of people to see their own shit.
Or see the shit of the world.
Yes.
Some people
collective
are
shit.
here. Some people's mission to be here is to observe the changes during the Great Change so they can be their own personal recorder of what it was like going through the change before the change happened. And then after the change happens, that fulfilled mission of recording it becomes grand teachings to the future generations.
So you're talking about collective shit or collective issues?
Both collective and individual.
Okay, yeah.
Imagine the stories post-awakening that we'll have during the last 10 Lionsgates. What are you going to tell them? When I was 39 and in 2023, you had no idea what it was like, kid. Okay?
Yeah, my last three, I could write novels about just my last three. Incredible.
Okay? Imagine if you did write novels about the last three. What would it say?
It'd be like science fiction to people.
As they read them across the galaxy, Maty.
What does Lionsgate cake taste like? That could be the title.
Lionsgate cake.
Spicy, sweet, but with something not white, right?
Tastes like cat turd. Yeah. You can have your Lionsgate and eat that cake too. No, you can't. Okay?
It's actually Lion's Sluice Gate, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, we all survived Lionsgate 2023 and we didn't even get a t-shirt. 4-week-old carrot cake. Yeah, that's a good one. Or 2-week-old pie that's been unrefrigerated. Okay. So if you were to put your Lionsgate as a TikTok video, and we asked everybody in the chat room, if you were to put part of your previous Lionsgates into a TikTok video, 1 minute or 2 minutes or less, what would it be? We're interested in some of your Lionsgate stories.
Mine would probably get banned.
Yes. It's a Rumble exclusive. Dumb ways to die. Yes, you got the quote. All right, everybody, please head on down to the like button. And if you could hit that subscribe button, it would be very much appreciated. We're going to call an end to the show. So, Laura, I want to give people an update about combined therapies.
Yes, just as I said at the beginning of the show, we're looking at Brighton, south of UK, for the end of September and beginning of October, where we will, I think, have about a 10-day run. We're doing, at the moment, off the top of my head, I think we're doing 2, 3, 4 and 5-day packages, so you can choose. Each day becoming more intense and building on the last day, on the previous day. We will be using floats. We'll be using all the things that you've seen on our Facebook, YouTube and Rumble shows. The Lucia light, the PMF mat, plus all our skills, CST and the psychic surgery and the hematite and crystal healing too. So there's loads there that we're offering. And if you are interested and want to go on the email list, then please contact me, Laura 2feathers with the number 2 at gmail.com. Laura 2feathers at gmail.com. Thank you.
Maty, give a way for people to get a hold of you.
Okay, guys, so I'm a psychic surgeon, light language specialist, and a whole host of other things. If you want a session with me, you can get a hold of me at Maty Waller, 2feathersmedicine at gmail.com, and that's all in wording.
As well as Maty will be offering Lionsgate special boxing training. How to box a demon. How to go 9 rounds with him. Dale, give a way for people to get a hold of you.
So go on to daletobin.com if you'd like psychic surgery sessions with me. I'm also going to be doing some up and coming psychic surgery training very soon, which I'm just trying to organize dates with the combined therapy. It's quite busy. So I will get some dates up for the online training. I'm also going to be creating a new course, which is more of the roadmap back to the grandmothers, which is more working with soul surgeons and grandmothers and grandfathers within the psychic surgery. So I'm being inspired I've already started writing it. So at some point in time, that'll be available for those who've done the workshop already. Thanks, guys.
All right, you all know who I am. You go to my website, andrewbartzis.com. We are having a mentorship process coming up that starts the third week in September, level 1, 2, and 3. If you have not been a mentorship before, you sign up for level 1. If you've done mentorship level 1 and want to sign up for level 2, there's level 2. And if you're on level 2 and you want to do level 3. Very simple. For all those that sign up for a price of $1,500, you will get 2 half-hour sessions with me at level 1. At level 2, you will get 2 45-minute sessions with me. And at level 3, you'll get 2 1-hour sessions with me during the time of the mentorship. The deal doesn't get any better than that, as well as you'll be having 8 hours of collective course time in a Zoom room with all the other people that are in the different levels of mentorship groups. So for those of you who have been wanting to have that mentorship experience, you go to the website, you can look for the 2023 membership, as well as it should be in your email inboxes as we've sent a whole bunch of new emails out. All right, everybody, this has been your Tools, Tips, and Techniques show. Share it far, share it wide, and have a great time, everybody. We'll be back this coming Tuesday with another Talking Stick show.
Good luck, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.